April 1945. Northern Germany. The war in Europe was collapsing, but not yet over. A British infantry patrol from the Second Army, advancing through the shattered countryside near Lüneburg, moved cautiously along a narrow dirt road. Ahead of them lay a small village, bombed, burned, and nearly abandoned. But this is not a story of tanks or artillery. This is a story of a single moment between enemies. A starving German mother approached a British soldier, her voice trembling, her child in her arms, and begged for food. What happened next would leave a mark not just on her, but on the soldier himself for the rest of his life. Because sometimes, even in the darkest moments of war, humanity refuses to die. By April 1945, the Allied advance into Germany was unstoppable. Following the success of Operation Plunder in March, British forces had crossed the Rhine River, pushing deep into the German heartland. The once powerful Wehrmacht was now fractured, its units scattered, under-equipped, and often leaderless. The British Second Army, under General Miles Dempsey, was advancing rapidly across northern Germany. Their objective: secure key territory, disrupt any remaining German resistance, and link up with Soviet forces pushing from the east. But victory came at cost. The land they moved through was devastated. Entire villages reduced to rubble, civilians displaced, infrastructure destroyed, food supplies nearly non-existent. For the German population, survival had become the only mission. Among the advancing British units was a platoon from the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry, battle-hardened men who had fought across France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. They had seen war in its full brutality. They had lost friends. They had endured artillery barrages, ambushes, and the constant threat of death. And yet, nothing had prepared them for what they were about to witness. On the morning of April 14th, 1945, the platoon entered a small, unnamed village just outside Lüneburg. Time: 0900 hours. The air was cold, damp, and eerily silent. No gunfire, no movement, only the distant rumble of artillery miles away. The soldiers advanced cautiously, rifles raised, eyes scanning every window, every doorway. Where it taught them one thing: silence could be deadly. Inside the village, the destruction was absolute. Homes were partially collapsed, roofs torn open by shellfire. Burned-out carts lay abandoned in the streets. Broken glass crunched under their boots. At 0930 hours, the platoon commander ordered a systematic sweep. Check every building. No risks. The men split into fire teams, moving from house to house. Inside, they found signs of desperation. Empty cupboards, discarded clothing, makeshift bedding on cold stone floors. But most disturbing of all was the absence of people. Where had they gone? Had they fled? Been evacuated? Or worse? By 10:30 hours, the answer began to reveal itself. In the far corner of the village, near a partially destroyed farmhouse, movement was spotted. A soldier raised his hand. Contact 11 o'clock. The patrol froze. Rifles aimed. A figure emerged slowly from behind the rubble. Not a soldier. A woman. Thin, pale, exhausted. She held something in her arms. As she stepped closer, it became clear it was a child. The platoon remained tense. Even civilians could pose a threat. Desperation made people unpredictable. The woman approached cautiously, her steps unsteady. Her clothes were worn, dirty, barely holding together. Her eyes told the story before she even spoke. Hunger, fear, desperation. At approximately 1045 hours, she stopped just a few yards away from one of the British soldiers, Private Thomas Walker. She looked at him and began to speak in broken, desperate words. Bitte, essen mein Kind, please food, my child. In that moment, the war changed. Private Walker had seen suffering before. He had marched through liberated towns in France. He had witnessed wounded civilians. He had seen the aftermath of bombings. But this was different. The child in the woman's arms was barely moving. Thin, fragile, too weak even to cry. Walker's grip tightened on his rifle. His training told him to remain alert, to keep distance, to treat every situation as a potential threat. After all, this was enemy territory. This woman was German, the same nation that had bombed London, the same enemy that had killed his comrades. Just weeks earlier, Walker had lost a close friend during a firefight near the Rhine. The memory was still fresh, the anger still there. And yet, as he looked into the woman's eyes, he saw something else. Not an enemy, a mother. At 1,100 hours, the platoon commander approached. "What's happening here?" Walker didn't respond immediately. The woman repeated her plea, her voice weaker now. "Bitte, mein Kind, Essen." The commander studied the situation. Protocol was clear. Civilians were to be handled cautiously. Supplies were limited. Every ration counted. The men themselves were operating under tight logistical conditions. Food was not abundant, even for soldiers. And yet, the child looked like it wouldn't survive the day. The commander hesitated. Seconds passed. Then came the decision. We move on. We don't have enough to feed civilians. Orders are orders. Walker felt something shift inside him. Orders were orders. But this didn't feel right. The woman's legs began to give way. She sank to her knees, still holding the child. The moment stretched. Heavy, uncomfortable, unforgettable. As the platoon began to move out, Private Walker made a choice. A decision that went against instinct, against discipline, against orders. He stepped forward. "Wait." The commander turned. "What are you doing, Walker?" Without answering, Walker slowly removed his pack. Inside it, his personal rations, carefully measured portions meant to sustain him through days of combat. He opened it, pulled out a small tin of preserved meat, a piece of bread, and a chocolate ration, something rare, something valuable. He walked toward the woman, every step deliberate, every movement watched by his fellow soldiers. The woman looked up, confused, uncertain. Walker knelt down. Gently, he placed the food in her hands. For a moment, she didn't move, as if she couldn't believe it. Then realization hit. Tears filled her eyes. She clutched the food, holding it as if it were life itself. "Danke, danke, thank you." Over and over again. The child stirred slightly, as if sensing hope. Walker said nothing. He simply nodded, then stood up. Behind him, the platoon was silent. No one spoke. Even the commander said nothing. What happened next would become legendary among those who witnessed it. The commander turned and gave a quiet order. "Leave it. No punishment. No reprimand. Just understanding." Because in that moment, the war had revealed something greater than victory. The platoon continued its advance later that day, but the encounter stayed with them. For Private Walker, it would define his memory of the war. Not the battles, not the victories, but that single moment of humanity. In the following weeks, Germany would surrender. On May 8th, 1945, Victory in Europe Day, the war in Europe officially ended. Millions had died. Cities lay in ruins. Families were shattered. But stories like this reminded the world of something important. Even in the midst of unimaginable conflict, compassion could still exist.